Afternoon baseball on FSN Midwest. A gorgeous day here in downtown St. Louis. It's sold out here at Busch Stadium. Rubber game between the Reds and the Cardinals. Tuesday night, pitching was the story for St. Louis. Chris Carpenter, one of the best starts of the season, a 4-hit shutout, and St. Louis rolled in game 1. Last night, though, a different story. The bats would come alive for the Reds. 7 runs they would score, all via the home run. The Reds would bang out 5 on the night. Al Raboski, Dan McLaughlin with you, and welcome to the broadcast booth here on FSN at Busch Stadium. And you know, when you talk about this series, you talk about this matchup between these two teams, you really don't know what to expect. It's the final matchup of the season.
Well, we know they got a lot of firepower. Of course, the Cardinals are a little banged up, missing Edmonds. But the one thing we do know is whoever pitches best will win this game.
And the Cardinals go with Jeff Weaver, off day on Monday, so Weaver is bumped up in this start. And his last time out against Cincinnati, it was game 1 of that 4-game set a week ago. Weaver was pretty good.
He was very good. And one thing is surprising to me is he gets another start. A tough test because he still has a problem facing left-handed batters. They've got a lot of power, a lot of left-handed batters, but obviously Tony feels confidence that he's the best arm to do the job.
When we come back, we'll talk about the outfield situation with the St. Louis Cardinals. Who's in the outfield today? Injuries have been a story for the Cardinals this season, in particular with Edmonds. We'll update you when we come back. Pleasant afternoon for baseball. Big crowd is filing in. It'll be sold out once again today here on FSN. Game 3 between the Cincinnati Reds and the Cardinals. And again this afternoon, the Cardinals are without Jim Edmonds.
Well, that's right. The post-concussion syndrome. He's experiencing dizziness. I talked to him. Said he's feeling much better today. And then I had to remind him, Jim, I'm over here as he's looking that way. But he's listed day-to-day, not available today. And yet, you know, it really suffers defensively, but trying to find balance for that offensive lineup, it is a problem there too.
Well, let's take a look at our Ford Keys. Who is in that lineup today in the outfield for the Cardinals? Duncan, Taguchi, and Encarnacion. And Chris Duncan had a great series against the Reds last week and has carried over into this series.
Back-to-back 3-hit games, and obviously he's a power source, so he can supply some of the offense with Edmonds out.
How does it change the lineup? We'll have that story when we come back, as Joel Goldberg will take a look at the number 5 spot in this lineup. That's up next on FSN.
Welcome back to Busch Stadium. I'm Joel Goldberg at the Helitech studio. Jim Edmonds with post-concussion syndrome is out. So Timo Perez actually batted 5th last night and went 0 for 4. Let's take a look at the other 5 players who have occupied the 5-hole this year, starting, and Juan Encarnacion has the most games there and has had success. Edmonds was batting 223. Scott Rowland has been there a little bit, 279. Spezia, who's banged up, 286, and John Rodriguez is down in the minors. It's Encarnacion in the 5-hole today. We've got the Cardinals and the Reds rubber match coming up next.
Jerry Narron and the Reds start play today, a little bit closer to St. Louis. Game and a half out. Another big game here today, Al.
Well, we know no matter what happens that the Reds will not overtake the Cardinals today.
Ryan Friel will lead it off for Cincinnati, followed by Hedberg and Jr. 560 home runs. He picked up 560 last night. Encarnacion, Dunn, Aurelia, Phillips, Ross, and Loge. On the mound for St. Louis in this afternoon baseball game is Jeff Weaver of the St. Louis Cardinals, a record of 2-3. It's been a struggle this season, whether over in the American League with Anaheim, with the Cardinals' little sluggish start so far. Opponents hitting .356 against him, and he has had his problems against lefties.
Well, you're absolutely right about that. .356 average, 16 of the 25 home runs he's allowed. But he pitched very well against these Reds in Cincinnati and pitched pretty good in Pittsburgh, but he got the loss there.
Busy bullpen last night. Sosa, Hancock, Flores, Looper, Isringhausen, Wainwright, Tyler Johnson. Izzy and Wainwright, 2 guys that are well rested and ready to roll.
Now, Tony, I think, is concerned about the start from his starter and see if we can get the offense going. But it all boils down to how well you start the game and the responsibility of the starting pitcher. But Weaver, they like the way he's thrown.
First pitch to Ryan Friel is taken for a ball. The home plate umpires, our crew chief, Dale Scott, Ron Culpa at first, Dan Iasonia at second, Lance Barksdale, who was behind the plate last night, is over at third. 1 ball, 1 strike on Friel. 27 steals on the year. And he has at least 25 stolen bases for the 3rd straight season. So he's a guy you want to keep off the base paths. Hard to believe the final meeting between these two teams, the Reds and Cardinals.
That could work to the Cardinals' advantage. The way the Reds have dominated the season series.
85 degrees our game time temperature. Reds have a long road trip coming up. They'll go back home, and now Friel hits it out to left. And then they're on the West Coast. 3-city stop. Cardinals head on the road after this game today to Chicago. And then an off day on Monday. Then we'll be in New York. Duncan, Taguchi, Encarnacion in the outfield. Our Auto Tire defense, Auto Tire around the horn. Roland, Eckstein, Belliard, and Pujols on the infield, and Yadier Molina is behind the plate. 8 career starts against Cincinnati, a record of 5-1 for Jeff Weaver. One of the reasons to move him up, and the Cardinals felt in his last start it was arguably the best he has had in St. Louis. Here's Hatteberg, first baseman, who's hitting .320.
Like we said, these left-handed hitters have given Jeff a tough time.
Seemed like, though, in his last start he was able to get in on many of those left-handed batters.
Yes, and that's what Carpenter did in the first game of this series. Is he dominated the shutout, 4-hit shutout against the Reds. You've got to get in on them. You can't let them extend their hands.
Hatteberg is 9th best in the league in batting average. He's hitting .320 at the start of play today. Agreed to a 1-year contract extension through 2007, club option in 08. The first move made by Wayne Kripke. Fly ball out here to center. So Taguchi, round number 2.
Well, the Roots would be the first one to tell you when Jeff came out here, and after the trade, and he didn't pitch for like 20 days, so you had to kind of let him have a couple starts to condition himself. But even in some of those starts when the numbers weren't very good, they saw a lot more positives than they saw negatives.
Here's Ken Griffey Jr. Home run number 560 last night. 11th all-time on the home run list. Up next, Reggie Jackson at 563. He's also 22nd now on the all-time RBI list. 20th on the all-time extra base hits list. Undoubtedly one of the greatest players ever. 1 ball, 1 strike. Reaches for it, hits it out of play. Switched his uniform to number 3 to honor his 3 children, Trey and Taryn and Tevin. When you talk to Ken Griffey Jr., he will talk your ear off about his kids and about his family. Of course, his mom and dad going through a tough time right now.
Weaver's dominated against Griffey. 2 of the 3 hits have been home runs, and you just have to believe those were mislocations.
Pitch enough innings, it's going to happen. 2-2 pitch. Down the right field line. It's long enough for sure. And it hooks just foul. Remember how we talked about last night the sound of certain guys when they hit the baseball?
Sure.
That one, he just knew he torched.
Sharper, crisper sound. Other guys like hitting a ball with the rolled up newspaper. A good pitch there. But it isn't it isn't surprising also because the star players get the best wood from the bat manufacturers.
2 balls, 2 strikes. Good pitch, doesn't get the call.
Yeah, very good pitch right there. Took a lot off. Good location down and away, and give Griffey some credit to lay off it.
Encarnacion with a couple of home runs last night, waiting on deck. The shift on here for Ken Griffey Jr. 3-2 pitch. Broke his bat. Weaver was ducking. And the play is made by the shortstop, David Eckstein. Cardinals coming up in their half of the first. There's no score. Loge making the start for the Cincinnati Reds. Started the season with Minnesota. Lineup that he will face: Eckstein, Duncan, and Pujols. Then Roland, Encarnacion, Belliard, Taguchi, Molina, and Weaver. Last 10 games, over 400 average for Duncan and 4 home runs. On the bench today, Miles, the switch hitter. He started yesterday. Edmonds, Timo Perez, who also made a start. Spezio, the switch hitter, and Gary Bennett on the bench for the Cardinals. Loge began the year 2-4 with an ERA over 8 for Minnesota. Then he was sent to their bullpen, and now he's been sent to Cincinnati. His number is brought to you by Rico.
Kind of trying to stretch him out a little bit, but this kid's got a good arm. He has had some a little trouble at times with his manager in Minnesota. That's why he got sent down to the minor leagues, but he's got a pretty good plus arm. Those 2 different fastballs. He's got a good slider and a changeup.
Season high 7 strikeouts his last time out. Been the victim, though, of a couple of blown saves by this bullpen. Eckstein is hitting .291 on the year.
And David can't get on, and Cardinals can't get an early lead.
Popped up to the third baseman. Foul territory. Encarnacion with the shades, and then shading from the sun with the glove, and makes the catch. Auto tie around the horn. A look at the Reds defensively. Dunn, Jr. and Friel in the outfield. Encarnacion, Aurelia, Phillips, and Hatteberg. David Ross behind the plate. 10 errors this season, most by a left fielder in the National League for Adam Dunn. Here's Chris Duncan. Another 3-hit night in game 2. Really hit the ball well last 2 series against Cincinnati. And a ground ball, base hit right side. How about Chris Duncan getting on in front of Albert Pujols?
You think we could borrow some of these jerseys from the Cincinnati Reds pitchers and just put them out there on every pitcher that Duncan faced? Came in batting .518 on the year against Cincinnati Reds pitching, and he's also got some power with those stats. But boy, has he been a welcome sight hitting in front of Albert.
Much needed. Here is Pujols. Cardinals last night against Bronson Arroyo did have opportunities. First inning, it was first and second, nobody out for Albert. Later then, early on, they would have the bases loaded. Couldn't cash in, and then Arroyo settled in.
Dan, the way a starting pitcher thinks, or any pitcher, but particularly a starter, you look at the starting lineup and you might say, okay, this guy has a history with me and he hits me pretty well. Albert would be a prime example of that. But then you look down and you sit there and say, okay, here's the areas where I probably am going to have to really pitch, but here's my breathing points, and if I get into an area where I need an easy out, you look at the Cardinal lineup and there's some easy outs. That's why you talk about without Edmonds and some of the guys not swinging to their capabilities, it's not a lot of balance in the lineup. You've got to strike through this top part of the order.
2 balls and a strike on Albert Pujols. Pujols in his start overshadowed deficiencies in this lineup. I mean, he had such an unbelievable start. He carried this team.
He absolutely did the first half, and many of his 19 game-winning RBIs.
Spoils a pitch. 2-2 the count on Albert Pujols.
And the last thing you want Albert to do is to feel like he has to take even more of a load. He's higher batting average, but you see the RBIs and the home runs were way down in the second half. So you don't want him to try and expand his zone and get himself way off balance like the last foul ball.
2-2 pitch. And Pujols hits it down the left field line out in front, pulls it foul.
Mislocation a little bit, way out in front, but it's human nature to try and take on more responsibility. But Albert, just do what you can do because that's plenty.
Count of 2 balls, 2 strikes on Albert Pujols. We're in the first. Ground ball left side, chance at a double play. A bobble. They're going to say that Duncan is out at second base. And you got to wonder if it's in the back of Phillips' mind that Duncan is barreling down Adam, because Chris Duncan, that's the 3rd time in this series that he has gone hard into Brandon Phillips.
That's right. You know he's coming, and you see him double clutch, and then he's worried about getting out of the way. So the force out is recorded there. He tried to reach in and extract the ball, but that's the way you play the game, and that's how you keep the offense and you keep the Cardinals swinging the bat, because he just didn't concede the double play to the Reds. But I think that's a very valid point, Dan, with that Phillips is a little gun shy over there, especially when Chris Duncan is running.
It's like going over the middle in football. Get happy feet. 2 balls, no strikes.
Our home plate umpire, that's one of his big hobbies. Dale Scott, big Oregon Ducks fan. You know what else about him? You'd love this. If he wasn't umpiring, he'd want to be a disc jockey.
Disc jockey.
Yeah. He's got an associated science degree in broadcasting. Radio disc jockey if he wasn't umpiring.
Three and one the count.
And we thought he set his sights high.
You see Big Dog, he's just
Big Dog is over here shaking his head.
Shaking his head at you, Al, in disgust.
He wants to be. He wants to be like the cat.
That one catches the outside corner. Full count. Remember last night, Phillips, after Duncan slid into him at second, argued with Ron Kulpa for a little while. And Kulpa pointed to the dirt and said, look, it's a legal slide. He's not out of the base path. He wasn't late. You could see where he started his slide. Pujols off with the pitch. There he goes. And that's ball 4. That's something that Lowe's hasn't done much of. His ERA since he's been wearing this uniform is 2.92, a 16-to-1 strikeout to walk ratio, and 12 1/3 coming in.
I saw that, and quite impressive, especially pitching in Cincinnati's ballpark. You're a fool to be walking anybody there, because then it becomes a multi-home run.
His last outing, a no decision as he pitched into the 7th at Philadelphia. 6 1/3, a run, 6 hits, walked 1, struck out 8. And he was originally drafted by the Chicago Cubs back in 1996.
Here's another very good trade for a minor league player that the Reds pulled off for a 27-year-old pitcher.
He's got a live arm too.
Yeah. The one thing that Hal McRae told me is he was very impressed with his stuff. But he said, if you are patient and you stay up there long enough, we feel he will make a mistake over the heart of the plate.
Born in 1978 out of Chico, California. Lives in Scottsdale, Arizona. Popped up. Shallow center. Ken Griffey Jr. will make the play. Cardinals strand 2, and there's no score. No score, top of the 2nd. Weaver back to work. Edwin Encarnacion, a couple of home runs last night, 4 RBIs, and a check swing. Belliard makes the play.
Good play.
A long way to go. Weaver couldn't get to it. Belliard had to be quick.
And he was quick enough, and he had something on the throw. Over the top, couldn't underhand it because Encarnacion, almost the way he was swinging, got a running start out of the box.
Adam Dunn, 5 home runs, 11 RBIs in the month of August. Top 5 in home runs overall in the National League with 36. Hit number 36 last night. Leads in home runs, RBIs, runs scored. He's on pace for 48 dingers, and the club record is your buddy George Foster with 52 back in 1977.
George Foster hit 52 in 77. I mean, it had been since Mays and some of those guys that hit 50, but it had been a decade plus.
Be about 65 now, probably.
Or 70.
Or 70. Pitch on the outside corner, a strike.
Weaver really changing speeds.
Ball is moving too.
Yeah, he's got. That was the one thing we saw. It took him a while to get that increased movement, and now as he's getting better conditioned, it's coming a lot earlier.
High in the air out to deep right field. Encarnacion back at the wall, and he's got it. Weaver, along with many of the folks here at Busch Stadium, thought that one was into the seats.
Well, he's so big and strong. He was fooled by the pitch way out in front, but yet you just didn't know, and thank goodness Encarnacion went back and didn't have to go all the way to the wall, but Weaver sigh of relief and said, hey, this is my day.
He's got his second out here in the top of the second. 5 up, 5 down. 2 ground ball outs, 3 fly ball outs, and here's Aurelia. He homered last night, number 17.
I don't recommend defying the baseball odds and continue to get fly balls.
Warm afternoon here at Busch Stadium.
Get the ball down. Aurelia didn't like that call, Dale Scott, but I think a lot of people right now would much rather see Royce Clayton in the lineup than Rich Aurelia and his 17 home runs in limited duty.
Limited duty, and much of the damage this season done against the Cardinals. He's really hit St. Louis well last couple of years. Since the All-Star break, he's hitting .325, riding a 3-game hitting streak coming into play today. He's 4 for his last 10.
And will play numerous positions.
Drops down and a pop-up. Molina. Cardinals have Belliard, Taguchi, and Yadier coming up in their half of the second. There's no score. Singular Wireless, who will win the National League Central Division? Cardinals, Reds, Brewers, Astros, Pirates, or Cubs. They get E together. 42957 to text your vote. Astros had a couple of really tough losses against Chicago. As Belliard pops up the first pitch, Ross over, along with Encarnacion out of room. They had Clemens, Pettit, Oswalt, lost all 3 games against Chicago. 18 inning game they lost as Lidge came in to get the save. Blew it again, and then they lost yesterday 1-0. Michael Barrett home run. Since the trade, Belliard has struggled, but has come alive a little bit as of late. He's hitting .255. He talked to Albert Pujols the other day, and Pujols said it's nothing mechanical that we can pick up. Just relax.
Well, that's Case coming over trying to justify a trade or be in a pennant race and do something spectacular.
Hit the short, handled very easily by Aurelia for the first out. So Taguchi filling in for Edmonds. I know you had a chance to visit with Jimmy. Let's hope that we could possibly see him over the weekend in Chicago. If not New York.
Well, like Tony said, that you know, the scan showed that there's nothing, you know, that is seriously wrong with him, and it's just a matter of when he feels like he's got his vision fully back and feels comfortable enough. But hope Tony has some fingers left by the time he's. Hope that happens quick. He just bites the nails off and not his fingers. But sorely missed is Jim Edmonds, who was starting to swing the bat.
Out to left center field on the move, Griffey. He got done out there and left. Griffey has got to pick up the pace, cover a lot of ground to his right.
I don't know if you remember Ralph Garr, you know, the Gator, when he was with Atlanta and he had Rico Cardi out in left field. I mean, Gator knew it. You know, he said, yeah, anything that's hit to left or right. You know, he had two stones out there playing those positions, and he just had to get on his horse and go get everything. I even saw one time that Cardi did catch the ball, and then he flipped it to Garr to throw it in, you know, after he had run 50 yards.
Slow roller to second base. Easy inning. Cardinals go 1-2-3. Weaver back to work, and there's no score.
I'm trying to get loose here right now and maybe take some swings and just see how it goes. Yesterday I tried to take some swings and didn't feel too good, so you know, like I said, it's day by day right now, but hopefully if I get enough food and get some energy in me, I'll be all right.
It's been a rough year for Jimmy, who has 228 home runs as a Cardinal, and he is up after this year. A lot of people believe that he is going through this post-concussion syndrome because of what happened at U.S. Cellular Field in Chicago when he's hit the back of his head on the warning track trying to make a play in center field.
Remember, he missed about 3 days, and that was diagnosed as a concussion as his head hit hard on the warning track.
Here is Phillips. Out to right center. So Taguchi. One pitch, one out. Let's take you back to the middle of June. A series we'd all like to forget. Right there when Edmonds came down, he landed hard on the back of his head.
Smack. And the other night, the first game of this series, you know, Tony and Barry Weinberg had to go out to assist him after about the 5th inning. And at that time, you know, I mean, they were asking him after he got into the clubhouse, well, how long has this been bothering you? He said, oh, 3 or 4 weeks.
If you let it linger and build up, they said that's why you have the dizziness, the blurred vision. Said he was even struggling driving home that night.
I felt a little better today, and so we just keep our fingers crossed.
One thing has certainly changed about Weaver from his first couple of starts, the pace. He has picked it up. The Cardinals went to him and said, look, you got to pick this thing up a little bit, and he has been much better. Good play by Scott Rowland. We have a yearbook up here in the booth. It's beautiful. You don't want to miss it. 320 pages, and it's only $20. Takes you step by step. The building process of this ballpark, 345-9000. If you're out and about, visit Borders, Walden Books, Shop and Save, or Deerberg's to pick up a copy of the Cardinals yearbook. And strike one on Loge. If he can hit a baseball like a golf ball, watch out. He was in the group in front of mine at Albert's tournament. He was crushing the golf ball. Rolling backs up, good play. Good start for Weaver, 9 up, 9 down. Baseball history brought to you by Schnucks. 1937, the Cardinals beat the Reds, with the final out being recorded at 12:02 a.m., making it the first Major League game ever completed after midnight. This date in baseball history brought to you by Schnucks. Bottom of the third here in St. Louis on a gorgeous afternoon. First base coach Dave McKay. Over at third, Jose Oquendo. And I understand you already conducted the interview with Dave McKay, the Cardinals' first base coach. Talk a little base running and what he actually does over there in that box. Which is?
Well, it was really not so much base running. He is the base running outfield. We talk about playing the outfield in Wrigley Field. Why don't take infield now, today? Talk a little bit about the Cardinals really aren't a base stealing team, but we got some real good base runners. And the fact that Dave Duncan was the very first strength and conditioning coach in baseball.
I've talked to him about that. He used to take Carney Lansford, Mark McGuire, and some of the others before the ballparks actually had weight rooms, which was in the mid-'80s. I mean, you can go back even as recent as the mid-'80s and no weight rooms in the ballparks, and they would arrive in a city and find out where the nearest gym was and get after it early in the morning. So Dave McKay, who is part of the Canadian Baseball Hall of Fame, part of our pregame show tomorrow, along with the third baseman Scott Rowland. I'll have a sit down with Scott, and that'll be part of the pregame tomorrow afternoon from Wrigley Field.
Should have asked him how many home runs do you think he's thrown during the BP?
Thousands.
He used to exclusively throw to McGuire, and now many times he'll throw to Albert. But it's an act of grooving the ball.
Had a conversation with Albert Pujols yesterday about base running. He said the biggest influence for him as far as base running has been Lou Brock, and what he has taken away as far as how to make turns on the bags. Of course, Pujols has said that, you know, time and again, runs scored is a very important stat, and one that he pays close attention to. Wants to lead the league yet again this season. He's got a chance. But he said it's amazing how Lou Brock helped change him and how he runs the bases.
Well, and that was something that Dave touched on, that in spring training on a daily basis, not one time or weekly, do they talk about the aspects of base running, because that's how you win games. And there's no better student than Albert Pujols, who is literally obsessed with scoring.
And so many times there's so much more to what happens over there at first base with your first base coach. Dave McKay carries that stopwatch. He'll get times on the pitcher to the plate. He'll go over the scenario for the base runner at first. He'll talk about outfield arms. He'll talk about, hey, this guy's playing short today. If a ball gets in the hole, you have a chance to do this. As we've talked about, Dave, baseball's first strength and conditioning coach. A swing and a miss by Eckstein. 2 strikeouts. And it brings in Duncan. This copyrighted telecast is presented by authority of the St. Louis Cardinals, LLC, and may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form, and the accounts and descriptions of the game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of the St. Louis Cardinals, LLC. Here's Duncan. Single his first time up.
It's a great pitch to a left-hander. You know, a lot of times if you got a slider, you want it down and away to a right-hander. Many times you want to elevate it a little bit, tie up the hands. Didn't get it in far enough.
With a base hit into right, and he's 2 for 2.
He was batting .331 before, so I mean, he could be up around .335 thereabouts. Dave McKay talk about don't get doubled up on a line drive, a lot of little things. But see, there's the breaking ball again. Instead of above the hands, a little bit out over the plate. and in front of the right fielder, Ryan Friel.
Chris Duncan has been around Dave McKay a long time. Youngster around the Oakland A's. Here's Albert, and a ground ball hit to second, handled by Phillips, and Pujols is retired for the second time. Dave McKay coming up from Wrigley Field tomorrow. Back to the top of the order. Here's Ryan Friel. No score in St. Louis. Top of the fourth. 9 up and 9 down for Jeff Weaver. 1 away. Cardinal baseball on FSN Midwest is brought to you by Kia Motors. Kia, the power to surprise. By Sonic. It's not just good, it's Sonic good. And by Rico. Move your ideas forward with Rico dependability. One out, and here's Hatteberg. Good start here for Jeff Weaver. Best start we've seen him have wearing that Cardinal uniform.
He's been perfect, but he's matched up against a pretty good one, too.
Pennant race in the middle of August. We haven't seen that in quite some time here in St. Louis. Showed you the other night in our game that we televised. The Cardinals were 30 games above 500 at this time last year.
Some believe that it would benefit the Cardinals in postseason play to play right down to the wire and still, you know, those competitive games before you get into postseason. And the way it looks, they're going to have that chance. And whoever pitches the best is going to win the Central.
Just missed on the outside corner, and the count is 3-1 on Hatteberg.
See, Jeff, most of the pitches, you know, he's done a good job changing speed, but they're either away or they're in, up high enough in the zone where you don't get hurt.
That's ball 4. So the first base runner of the afternoon for Cincinnati. The inaugural Cardinals campout in the new Busch Stadium, presented by Bass Pro Shops just around the corner. A limited number of Cardinal fans will have the opportunity to spend the night on the field on September 8th. Cost is $175. Find out more online. The campout is back. One out walk to Hatteberg, and here's Junior, the future Hall of Famer. 560 career home runs. Pitch that misses in. .560 home runs off of 358 different pitchers.
Mr. Sosa became the 358th.
And the count runs at 2 balls and no strikes. The shift is on for Ken Griffey Jr. and it was positioned perfectly his first time up, but you can see where it'd be tough to turn 2 on a ball that is hit to belly yard. Eckstein will have to get to the bag pretty quickly. And Junior rips it into right field, their first base hit. On the move is Hatteberg. He's going to stop at second base. And I'm not sure why he stopped, but the Cardinals catch a break.
Looked like he was looking for his third base coach and never got the affirmative to come over, but he's got the play in front of him. A lot of times you make that decision. He kept on looking, then he looked at his third base coach instead of just getting over there and taking off.
He's got to be at third base.
But why did he look? You know, you look one time. Why did he look at another time before he got to the bag? You look one time to see it, just make sure it gets down, and then look at your third base coach instead of looking back in right field.
So this is the first jam of the afternoon for Jeff Weaver. Runners at first and second. One out, and here's Encarnacion, a pair of homers last night. Rounded out to second his first time up today.
Reigning National League Player of the Week.
He pulls it foul. Friends from American Airlines up in the booth. They help us on our charter flights.
They sure do. And boy, last Thursday leaving Cincinnati and had to use another carrier I sure do appreciate American Airlines.
Cindy Hutchings helping us all the time here in St. Louis. Can't thank her enough.
And there, with our beautiful charter, American Airlines charter, we'll be whisking our way over to Chicago tonight. That'll be a fun series for the fans. Hopefully it'll be one for the Cardinals.
Be nice to win a game in Chicago, wouldn't it?
Been shut out in Chicago.
White Sox, Cubs, it hasn't mattered. Here's a 1-2 pitch.
Cincinnati is going to go to Pittsburgh, and they're playing better baseball now. And then when the Cardinals are in New York, Cincinnati will be in Houston. Houston will go to Cincinnati, but those two teams will match up, so a lot of head-to-head for them in the Central.
A ball and 2 strikes. See if the Cardinals can't get a double play. Popped up to Albert. Infield fly, and there's 2 down.
Another good pitch.
See Weaver drop down, a little sidearm action. Doesn't do it all that often, but when he does, it's a pitch that can be very effective. Just gives you a little different look.
Yeah, it's up and away there. One of the keys is, if you're going to drop down like that, you want to make sure it's away, and also have the ability to throw a breaking ball and a fastball from that position.
Molina wants to go over the game plan here with Adam Dunn. Dunn hit one to the wall his first time up, but it was caught by Encarnacion.
You usually never ever would drop down against a left-hander if you're a right-handed pitcher, because now all of a sudden that release point is just fully exposed, and so the batter gets a good look at it. But if it's a right-hander on right-hander, it looks like you're releasing that ball behind their back.
$14 games for Dunn against the Cardinals this year, and he's hit 6 home runs. He's missed just 2 games all season long. He'll throw behind, and safe at second is Hatteberg. Molina made that close.
Got to be alert on the bases. And so you take that secondary lead and immediately got back in a bang-bang play. Remember, Molina came up to me today. He says, "Al, you know, the other day when he threw him out and he thought it was the 3rd out. He said my head was in the game. He said it was 2-1 count. He said I thought it was 1-2, so he thought it was a strike him out, throw him out. But he said my head's in the game."
That was in game 1.
Yes.
For that runner at second base, they've got the shift on with Dunn, so that was the shortstop Eckstein there
Covering.
Yeah.
And there you see Belliar in shallow right.
The outfield for the most part is straight away. The infield,
that's your second baseman. And then there's old lonesome Scott Rowland. And he would normally be more at shortstop, but with a runner at second base, he's got to be in a position, the third baseman Rowland, to where he can get back to the third base bag ahead. So Scotty normally would be out here if there wasn't a man on second. But with the man on second, he's got to get to the bag ahead of the runner. So he'll play a little more closer to the third base bag.
With 2 outs, a count of 3-2. Big pitch in this game. Runners go. Swing and a miss. He struck him out. Good work by Jeff Weaver. The strikeout of Dunn. First of the afternoon. The Cardinals have the heart of the order coming up. Roland, Encarnacion, and Belliard, and there's no score. Why, we have no idea.
Just hope it's because he's healthy and wants to compete and not because he needs to for financial reasons. That's a tough trade, isn't it?
Oof. Make a lot of money, but boy, price to pay. 1 ball, 1 strike on Scott Rowland. No score here in St. Louis. Final meeting between the Cardinals and the Cincinnati Reds.
Dan, you know, baseball, football, whatever it is, you ask your body to exceed its tolerances. And I know so many of my friends, you know, from baseball and football that are total knee replacements, hip replacements, all the things that they're going through now because they were an athlete at one time.
What's going to be interesting is to see the guys that were on performance enhancing drugs and to see what happens to some of those bodies in 15 or 20 years, if not sooner. Could be scary. 3-2 pitch.
You know, when you're young enough to play professional sports, you know, you think you're bulletproof. I think you're gonna, you know, that you just don't worry about long-term consequences, the psychology of an athlete. But boy, you just got to eliminate all that from not only professional sports, but to eradicate it from society, so because it filters down into the, you know, I mean, high school and college level.
And Roland pulls it fair, backhanded by Encarnacion. Makes a good play.
He had to be playing right on the line or just barely off it. So right over the bag. Encarnacion has committed 17 errors. The Reds as a team have committed 92. And conversely, the Cardinals 64.
That's Edwin, and here's Juan. After today, Cardinals will have 22 home games remaining, 20 on the road. That's it.
So this is the last time these guys match up.
And Juan hits it out to right center field. Creel will make the catch. 2 outs, and it brings in Belliard. Belliard grounded out to short his first time up. He's 0 for 1. Well pitched ball game so far.
Really has been, and you know, you get that good pace of play where it's, you know, snappy, nothing sloppy, everything kind of, everybody's head's in it. And it almost appears whoever, you know, makes the first mistake is going to allow the others to score.
Belliard with a single up the middle. Cardinals, that's their 3rd hit. Duncan with 2, Belliard with the other.
Belliard is coming off a couple of his best games. He sat out yesterday, and good to see him pick up another hit, and hopefully he continues. But now we've got to surround and get some multiple hits.
Just 4 hits total in the game, 3 for St. Louis, and here's So Taguchi.
What a jump.
And Belliard is out. Ross throws him out. Looked to be a very good jump by Belliard. 5th inning coming up. There's no score. 5th. Good jump by Belliard. Let's see what the call is. Tony La Russa did have a visit with our second base umpire. Looked like he may have been safe.
He was safe. throw beat him, but the tag was not applied. He had a great jump, and we didn't think it would be anything close. Ross has thrown out 35% before this, but sometimes you got to stay with it a play. Just because the throw's there first, you got to watch the tag.
Seems like more times than not, almost 9 times out of 10, if a throw beats you at this level, swipe tag will be there, and they'll award it to the fielder, not the runner, unless it's clearly obvious that they avoid the tag. Here's Rich Aurelio, 1 ball, 1 strike.
Just can't assume things.
Popped out to Molina, back in the 2nd. We're in the 5th, and there's no score. Aurelio, Phillips, and Ross for the Reds. The chopper hit left side. Eckstein with the play. Take a look at the Aflac trivia question this afternoon as Weaver is rolling along. Only trouble for Weaver was back in the 4th. He pitched out of that trouble. Frankie Frisch holds the Cardinals record for the fewest strikeouts in a season. How many times did he strike out? Single digits? We'll find out in a moment. Phillips flew to center. 0 for 1. Boy, Weaver has got that baseball dancing today.
You know, movement just is the location's great, but if you got movement, that can overcome mistakes.
Quickly, 0-2 as we go back to the Aflac trivia question.
Aflac!
The 20s, you think?
Single digits. No.
10.
10 strikeouts.
Well, he only played 153 games.
10 strikeouts.
Out of 154. Well, at one time, you know, there were guys that had tremendous power in the minor leagues, hit 50 home runs, but they would strike out 100 times. They stayed in the minor leagues. Adam Dunn might have had some trouble back then, or he learned to be defensive with 2 strikes.
2-2 as Weaver twice dropped down, slings it that time, and it's a full count. He thought he had Phillips a couple of times.
I used to be able to do that. Drop down. Can't do it anymore.
Can you throw anymore?
Sinker.
But it's popped up. Belliard will make the catch. 2 outs. 2 outs, and it brings in Ross. You know, home runs allowed have been a problem this season for the Cardinals. They have allowed 149 already. And Al, it was 153 total a season ago. And you know, when you're talking about Cincinnati, you're talking about a team that can blast the baseball. At Busch Stadium, Cardinals have allowed 73, and they've hit 57. 17 of those from Albert. He may have a play. Pujols has got it. Midway through the 5th, no score. So Taguchi, Yadier Molina, and Jeff Weaver in their half of the 5th. See if the fan gets out of the way. Yep. They stay out of the way, and Pujols says thank you. And the little guy gets a souvenir. That's great to see. Good play by Albert Pujols. I think initially,
at least he didn't throw it back.
I think initially he felt that he wasn't going to have room to make that play. Looked like he hesitated just a bit to get after it, then got over there and made a good catch near the wall. We're in the 5th, no score. Here's So Taguchi. First pitch down the right field line, and Friel. You know he wanted to dive. You know he wanted to dive.
Absolutely.
And strike 1. Taguchi was left standing in the 4th inning after Belliard was caught stealing. Fly to center his first time up.
And you know that because the Cardinals really have so many singles hitters, Tony was wanting Belliard to steal that base, get in scoring position.
It's so important for the Cardinals to try to grab an early lead. And the reason why, they have won only 19 games this season when they have been scored upon first.
And the same thing for the Reds. They are 39-12 when they score first.
If the Cardinals get behind by 3 or more runs, it's virtually over. They have only won 2 of those games.
Cardinals have won 19 times when the other team has scored first, and the Reds are 23-46 when the other team scores first. They have not really shown that ability to come from behind this year.
Not at all. Here comes a 1-2 pitch. Taguchi strikes out. Third strikeout for the right-hander for Cincinnati. What's on Tap is brought to you by Bud Light. We head to Chicago. Jason Marquis, 12-11 tomorrow afternoon against Carlos Marmol. He's 505-5. We'll come your way with the pregame show at 12:30. First pitch at 1:20 from Wrigley Field in Chicago. Strike one on Molina.
Jason will be trying to break his 4-game losing streak. It's been a while since he's won a game, hasn't it?
When you take a look, if Carpenter was not part of the equation, it's scary to think of where this team might be. The other 5 starters outside of Carpenter are 33-32, and Carp is 11-6. ERA of 3.09 collectively. The other 5, ERA that is near 6. 2 strikeouts in the inning.
I would be fighting with the Cubs and Pirates.
One of the most dramatic games in Super Bowl history is part of our In Focus series. Greatest show on turf, the '99 St. Louis Rams. In Focus tonight at 5:30 right here on FSN Midwest. 2 outs, nobody on. Here's Jeff Weaver. All told, just 4 hits thus far in this game combined. Pitching comparison. Pitch count very good on both sides. 67 for Loge, make it 68. Weaver back to work with 65. And Jeff Weaver will face his counterpart when we come back. 6th inning coming up, and there's no score.
10 p.m. for In My Own Words, Scott Rowland. During the 30-minute show, Rowland discusses his 3 loves: family, baseball, and the Enos Furley Foundation. In My Own Words, Scott Rowland, Monday at 10 right here on FSN Midwest.
No score, top of the 6th. Loge, Friel, and Hatteberg for Cincinnati. Well pitched ball game so far, and a gorgeous afternoon here in St. Louis. I mean, just perfect. First pitch by Weaver is a strike. And Jeff Weaver has walked 1 today, and he's allowed just 1 hit. That was Ken Griffey Jr. back in the 4th. Control has been very good. Movement today has been very good. And on both sides, a well-pitched ball game this far. Well played. And a ground ball hit to the right side. Pujols to the bag. He'll take it himself for the first out. The Cardinals are trying to win their 2nd series of the month of August. They've only won 1. They've lost 2. They have a split. That was against the Reds last week. We look back in April, and they were 7-1 in series. And Tony La Russa always talks about playing 500 or just over if you can on the road and winning 2 out of 3, 3 out of 4 at home. Ryan Friel looks at strike 1.
Now they were 2-2 in the 4-game series. Weaver won 1 of those games. And we could win this series, keep Cincinnati at bay, and get a good positive start to the road trip coming up.
Here's a 1-1 pitch. Did Yadier completely miss that?
Not sure if he completely or if it went off his glove, but
certainly went off at Dale Scott. Dale Scott didn't have a chance. 2-1 pitch. Belliard for out number 2. What a bonus this would be to get a well-pitched ball game from Jeff Weaver.
How about so many people around town were shocked when Weaver was going to get another start a few starts ago, but now right now, you know, you've been saying who's after Carpenter. It might be Jeff Weaver.
Looking good today. First 2 retired. Here's Hatteberg. Hatteberg has walked. He's also flied to center, and he looks at strike 1. Weaver a bunch of times today has been heading the count with that first pitch strike. Hatteberg this season against the Cardinals coming into play today. 15 hits. He's tied with Ryan Friel in that department against St. Louis. Look at his pitch count inning by inning. Only at 74. One and 2 the count. Way upstairs, 2-2. Matchups for this weekend, as we mentioned, it's Marquee tomorrow, then Suppan and Carlos Zambrano on Saturday. Chris Carpenter will go for the Cardinals on Sunday. Chicago not sure who they're going to make that start. Out to right center. Should stay in the ballpark, and it will. Encarnacion. Top of the order coming up for St. Louis. David Eckstein. Spark plug at the top of the lineup. He'll lead it off when we come back. Listen, the new Busch Stadium. Here's Eckstein. Cardinals' last hit was Ronnie Belliard. He was a race caught stealing back in the 4th. The only hit was in the 4th inning for Cincinnati by Ken Griffey Jr. As we play here in the 6th inning, a hard hit ball to the second baseman Phillips. Eckstein retired, and he's 0 for 3.
Notice this is his 3rd start for the Reds. First one he went 5. Last time he went 6 in a 3rd. So we'll watch how his stamina is here pitching during the day.
Here's Duncan, 2 for 2.
Putting that exaggerated shift on as Phillips, the second baseman, out in shallow right.
Guys in the truck today, Bud Productions crew, Tom Mee, our director, Mike Helling, our producer.
Kind of in rare form today, this afternoon, aren't they?
Wait till we get to Chicago.
They'll be normal.
The game plan will be set in motion. Three balls, 1 strike on Duncan. Duncan now is hitting .335. Nobody expected this. .335, 11 home runs, 25 driven in. And a swing and a miss. 2 outs, and it brings in Albert Pujols.
He's got the attention of these Reds pitchers now. Duncan is hit.
This is our Hardy's hot pitch of the game. It's Loge to Chris Duncan.
Pitching real tough right there, and there's you see a bottom fall out of that pitch. He's got he really throws a lot more changeups to the left-handed batters than right.
Pujols has come up with a runner on both times. That was Duncan. Hit into a fielder's choice in the first and grounded out to end the third inning. 0 for 2. 1 ball, 1 strike.
He's about ready to make a mistake to Albert.
If he does, that would be home run number 36. You're saying, oh, all of a sudden you feel a little confident. Got him out a couple of times. Maybe try to slip one by him, and Albert's ready for it. 3-1.
McRae said, if you're patient, stay up there long enough, he will make a mistake in the middle of the plate.
Pujols since the All-Star break came in hitting .356. 3-1 off the end of the bat out to center. 1, 2, 3 innings. 7th inning coming up. Pitching the story today, and there's no score. School students and guidance counselors. Cardinals are hosting the 2nd annual Career Day Wednesday, September 13th. Houston will be in town. And prior to that game, a program featuring Cardinal executives, front office personnel, tips and details on careers in sports. If you'd like more information, ticket information 345-9500 or stlcardinals.com. The shift is on for Junior.
The only hit allowed by Weaver was off the bat of Junior.
That was all the way back in the 4th inning. Only trouble that Weaver has had. He also had a walk that inning, the only walk he has given up. It was 1st and 2nd with only 1 out. He got Encarnacion, then he got done. And the count runs to 2 balls and no strikes. We figured that when you're going to face a team like Cincinnati, their left-handed batters are going to pose problems for Weaver, but not in his last start and not here today so far. When you fall behind against Junior, you get a little nervous late in the game.
Absolutely, and Weaver, as we said, .356 batting average for left-handers. 15 of the 25 home runs he's given up, but not today.
Junior just trying to shoot one to the opposite way, and why not? He's got all kinds of room. Many times the Cardinals will have the shift on in the infield, but straight away in the outfield. But even here, they shade him a bit to pull. The count is 2 balls and 2 strikes on King Griffey Jr. Junior here, Encarnacion is on deck, and then Adam Dunn.
Count full.
Got to be careful here. Here comes the 3-2. Ooh, Junior was ready.
See,
but hit enough. Ken Griffey Jr. is homered in every existing facility and in 43 parks overall, which ties Fred McGriff's major league record. This season earlier, he added Comerica and Busch Stadium to that list. Here's a 3-2. Pitches that Junior has seen this game. First at bat 8, second 3. This at bat he's seen 8 again, so good battle here.
Yeah, the time he saw the fewest was when he got his base hit on the 3rd pitch. The other 2 he's battled long and hard, and Weaver's got him out the first time on the 8th pitch. What will happen here on the 9th?
Here comes another 3-2 pitch to Junior. They've hung that, but just enough where Junior fouled it back.
Looked like he showed him the entire arsenal Had that fastball in a couple times until he misses location, but actually was a pretty effective pitch. I do not like the fastball in on a 3-2 pitch to a home run hitter, especially when he's been up for this many times, because you're asking for an absolutely perfect pitch. You know, it's either ball 4 or you have a tendency to leave it out over the plate. As for the fastball again on the inside part of the plate.
Good at bat here by King Griffey Jr. Pitch count at 88 for Weaver this afternoon.
He's what, thrown at least 10 of them, or 11. All you have to look at was first batter.
Here's pitch number 12 to Junior.
Sinker.
And he unloads out to deep right, and this ball is gone. 1-0 Cincinnati. Pitch number 12, and Junior wins the battle here in the 7th, and it's 1-0 Reds.
You could just see that one coming.
Great at bat.
Fouled off some tough pitches, waited out there.
Let's go pitch by pitch. It's a long at bat here with King Griffey Jr.
Yeah, it looks like a slider, then maybe another one. Then he goes a fastball away. Another one he fouls off. There he misses location. Another one down the middle of the plate. Down and away again. Up and away. There's kind of, eventually you get a lot of those plays out there in the middle, but you saw where they got the arms extended. Wasn't in the middle of the plate. Really wasn't the downward action, and it was up. You know, sometimes when you get in a situation like that, it's better off to maybe throw ball 4. You could just see that one coming, but a good, you know, a good battle on both sides.
Career home run number 561 for King Griffey Jr.
25th of the season.
A ball and 2 strikes on Encarnacion. Little low. He's 0 for 2 today. King Griffey Jr. showing us why he's a future Hall of Famer. Just an outstanding at bat. There's some good pitches mixed in there. Pitches where he's not going to get his best swing, but just fouls him off to stay alive. Got one to swing at, and he hammers it out to right. There's a strike low and away. A gift for Jeff Weaver. Distance on the home run, 388 feet off the bat of King Griffey Jr.
I agree with you when you talk about the gift. Looked like it was low, looked like it was off the plate. That's good to see, that you don't sag the shoulders, feel sorry for yourself after the home run, and give in to the next hitter. He battled him, got the strikeout.
First pitch to Dunn, a little in. Third straight season, Dunn is on pace for 100 driven in, 100 walks, 100 runs scored. Joe Morgan, the only other Reds player to reach those marks in the same season. He did it only once back in 1976. Pujols has got it for round number 2.
Great play right there, and you only worry about him separating his shoulder.
Or getting hurting that side, too, stretching for it.
Yeah, getting up so high, and he had to just time that jump and leap perfectly, as this ball is just taken off for a lot of topspin and hooking, but jumped to the apex, and now he's checking the webbing to make sure it's all intact.
Rich Aurelio for 2. Good play by Pujols. Timed perfectly. Strike low and away again. So Aurelia backs away, not liking that call. Cardinals will have Roland, Encarnacion, and Belliard coming up in the bottom of the 7th.
You know, Dan, you talked about Adam Dunn on pace to do that, about the 100, the triple 100, or the run scored, RBIs, and or was it 30 home runs
and walks
and walks.
Carlos Delgado, last major leaguer to produce at least 3 straight seasons. The broken bat, Pujols will flip to Weaver. Let's start with the good. As we head to break, time to stretch the defense by Albert Pujols. Now the bad. Solo home run by Ken Griffey Jr. on the 12th pitch of that at bat, and it's 1-0. Robert Lockman is today's merchandise winner in the Hyundai Long Drive Inning Sweepstakes. If the Cardinals hit a home run in the 7th, Robert qualifies for the Hyundai Sonata drawing in September. To register, visit a St. Louis area Hyundai dealer. 1-0 Cincinnati in the home run by Ken Griffey Jr. We just get word that Albert Pujols will appear on the David Letterman show on August 25th. That show will be taped on Thursday the 24th when the Cardinals are in New York to play the Mets.
He deserves some of that attention.
Well, think about where he has come from in his life. Now with a $100 million contract. And I talked to Albert about it yesterday. He started playing baseball by using lemons as the ball, milk cartons as his glove. It's pretty amazing.
You can't imagine how creative those young kids are in the Dominican and what they play with. Just to, you know, because here so many of our kids won't play, don't know how to get 2 or 3 guys to play Indian ball or play wiffle ball. Have to have a uniform and be organized. And those kids in the Dominican or the other, throughout the Caribbean and South America, Mexico, are so creative in what they will come up with to simulate a baseball or a bat. Like you said, the milk cartons for gloves.
Rolling out to deep left field. Get going. That ball is gone. Tie ball game. th home run for Scott Rowland.
There it is. An off-speed pitch, but catch a little bit too much of the plate. Bell tie over the middle of the plate, and Scott Rowland answers.
Came on a 3-2 pitch.
It's 17th home run, 74th RBI for Scott. Just had enough to go over the boards into the first row of the stands. Encarnacion not liking that call, but Jeff Weaver's pitched so well, he deserves to. Both these pitchers have pitched extremely well, but
the chopper hit left side, cut off by Encarnacion. Juan beats it out. And the go-ahead run is on. By the way, we have a winner in our Hyundai Long Drive Inning. Robert Lockman. Congratulations. That home run by Scott Rowland gets you qualified for the Hyundai Sonata.
Well, that tied the game, but Encarnacion reaches base with the infield hit. Nice play by Encarnacion, but Encarnacion running and hustling all the way, smells the hit and comes up with it.
Would the Cardinals like to do a little bit of running here?
Well, David Ross has gunned out Belliar when he tried to steal, but you're getting late in the ball game. You also have this pitcher who has gone high. He has gone, and this is only his 3rd start, his 6 1/3 innings, his last time out. But I'm sure that was in a night game, a little different in the day.
Daniel Brady and Daniel Fogarty are helping us out up here in the booth.
Where they provided so much help, Tim Garcia's getting a little nervous. These two guys have done the job.
Sierra Hansen was helping us out before up here. Now she's in the truck helping out. They're bringing us good luck.
Adam Wainwright gets up in the Cardinals pen, and the Reds are active with a pair of a righty and a lefty. And that's.
They want to bunt here with Belliard. Let's see.
You know, it's kind of a situation where it might dictate it's ball one now, and it might just kind of go see what the count becomes. 101 pitches for Weaver. That's 2-0. Remember, you got a pitcher out there that's kind of, you would think, maybe losing it a little bit. Belliard, to me, it seemed like, and you know, when he was with Milwaukee early in the career, a guy that could hit behind a runner.
This might be a time to do it here. A hit and run possibly. We count of 2 balls, no strikes, even if it gets to 2-1. A little bigger lead by Juan over at first, and another check.
Well, Dan, remember you talked about it. He's walked 1, but he came into this game 16 strikeouts and 1 walk. So now that he's fallen behind 2-0, you think that he's going to pump a strike in there.
Juan is running. Hit and run was on, and it's popped up. Long way to go here, though, for Friel. And that ball is going to be out of play. A foul ball as Hatterberg had to regroup and try to get it. It's just a strike on Belliard. 2 balls, 1 strike.
It just seemed like it was a perfect opportunity and a real tough play. And Hatterberg just kind of an awkward angle, but that ball straight back. You know, you seem like you're holding a man on. You go to retrieve a foul ball, and your angle starts askew to begin with.
With that hit and run on, you ask the batter to put the ball in play, but put it in play on the ground.
Coffey and Cormier warming up for the Reds.
Strike 2 on Belliard, 2-2. Longest outing of the season thus far for Jeff Weaver was May 3rd at Detroit. Pitched into the 8th in that game, 113 pitches. He's over 100 today. And the Angels would lose that game. Belliard tied up on the 2-2 pitch.
Great pitch.
Sold out crowd. Announced it to 40,346.
Throw that pitch inside, and you just see how the swing, he just ran in on him, and it just locked him up. Remember, hitters like to get their arms extended. They don't like to have it hitting around their knuckles.
Now there's 1 out here, so Taguchi. Bunts it foul. Taguchi today is struck out, fly to center.
Taguchi is kind of a guy that you could put that hit and run on or hit to the opposite side. Last time he hit a home run was June 21st against Mark Burley. Boy, is his struggles. It's kind of foreign for him, isn't it?
One time he had struggles like he's gone through as of late. Chance at a double play. That's 1. They turn the double play. Started by the pitcher, Lowe's. 1-6-3 on the double play. Cardinals tie it up with a rolling home run. The bar brought to you by Singular Wireless. Who will win the National League Central Division? The Cardinals, Reds, Brewers, Astros, Pirates, or Cubs? And most of you believe the Cardinals. Cardinal telecast, let's hope so. Weaver out for the 8th.
Tell you what, when you see a pitching performance like Weaver's displaying here today, gives you a lot of confidence that the Cardinals can defend their championship.
Phillips, Ross, and then the pitcher spot is due up. Brandon Phillips has seen his average dip to 287. Got off to a terrific start. 0 for 2 today. He's flied out to center and flied to second. Strike 2. See how Weaver has changed speeds all day. That was a good example of it.
You know, with the movement, when he has made some mistakes, the movement took care of the location.
Drops down. This one is hit down the left field line. It's trouble. And it hops off the top of the wall. Duncan over to get it. Good thing that Chris Duncan stayed with that.
Yeah, Lance Barksdale, our third base umpire, ran down the line, and as it kind of caromed around there, looked like it might even bounced on top, but back into the field of play. Drops down, but you see he's able to reach out and hook that ball down in the left field corner. So it didn't get it quite far enough away from him, and we'll see that tricky play for Duncan down in the left field corner as it bounces off the top but stays in the field of play, so it's still a live baseball, not a ground rule double.
You got a guy here with power, and you want to get that runner over to third, so you might think about a bunt, but also want him to swing away, maybe drive him in, at least get that runner over to third. They will pinch hit for Loesch. Valentin has moved to the on-deck circle, their top pinch hitter, a backup catcher. They carry 3 catchers. LaRue, Ross, who's at the plate, and the man on deck. Ryan Franklin getting loose in the pen.
But this is the beauty. This is the beauty of National League Baseball for the managers, all the strategy, what you have to do. 2 starting pitchers going deep into a ball game, pitching gems, but the time to second guess if you make the wrong decision in the fans' mind.
Here's the 0-1. 1 ball, 1 strike. They've got Pujols charging defensively. Belliard will cover first, and then Roland back to the bag at third.
Tom Mee, our director, pointed something out. It's a little bit odd. Is normally your left-hander is going to be on the farm mound, and your right-hander here, because now you see both their arms are together. So it must be an oddity, because it seems like all the time a left-hander always warms up on the near mound and the righty on the farm mound. So I don't know if it's they just don't have the landing area or something's a little askew there, but you normally would never have both arms, you know, thrown in the middle. So if somebody throws a wild pitch, you get your catchers, one of those guys colliding with each other.
The bunt was foul. 2 strikes.
You know, you ask a power guy to bunt, and it's something foreign to him.
2 sacrifices on the year for David Ross.
Was it Brad Penny the other day was asked to sacrifice, and he kind of made 2 really bad stabs at it, and then he got a pitch and hit it like a double or something. He goes, I hate to bunt, I want to swing. It's like I purposely did that.
1-2 pitch from Weaver. The bunt is down. It's a beauty. Roland has to hurry up. The sacrifice is good, so they took a chance with 2 strikes, and it pays off. So here's the sacrifice by Ross, who killed the Cardinals last week. Here's the little ball. And then against Isringhausen last week, game-winning home run, a monster shot to center field.
High pitch out over the plate, and he hit it up on the roof of the batter's eye club, out dead center field.
It's going to be it for Jeff Weaver. He's going to get a nice round of applause from this sold-out crowd.
Well deserved.
Tony motions to the right-hander. That's going to be it for Weaver. Good outing. Bullpen brought to you by your Mid-America Chevrolet dealers. 47th appearance for Adam Wainwright, a record of 2-1. ERA just over 3. I think some were probably saying, why not the lefty against a lefty? But with a guy like Wainwright, the strikeout comes into play. He's got 54 strikeouts in 60 1/3 innings pitched.
Well, that's exactly why. But, and everybody's got an opinion, but I disagree with it. You know, all 5 of his home runs have come batting left-handed. He's a switch hitter. He's a 118 batter, 2 for 17 when batting, and out of those 17, he's got 5 strikeouts batting right-handed. But that is why Tony made the decision, and I think Flores can strike out some people too, or fool them with that breaking ball. But that's why Tony's managing. And it's just one of those tough calls.
Infield drawn in. First pitch, strike. Valentin has proven to be a very tough out in these spots. Leads all National League pinch hitters in home runs. He's got 4. Tied for second in RBIs with 13. He's got 10 pinch hits on the year. 0-1 from Wainwright. Curveball. Yes, sir. That's strike 2.
Well, Adams got that great curveball. So Valentin, who goes up there, you know, he's got the 3rd strike left, but he hadn't taken the bat off his shoulder. And you see one of his home runs is off of Wainwright. He has 4 pinch hit home runs this year. That's 1 away from the club record of 5 set back in 1961 by Jerry Lynch.
Inning started with a double by Phillips, sacrificed by Ross. 0-2 pitch. Check swing. He got him. Struck him out.
Tag him.
Jeff Weaver gave the Cardinals 7 1/3. His reaction on the bench.
You know, he has to be happy because he's sitting there. The only thing he can get is a no decision or a loss.
Right.
So right now he knows he's not focusing on the fact that he pitched a wonderful game and really gave the Cardinals a big lift, but you don't want him to get an L.
Fastball, strike 1 on Friel.
4 pitches, 4 strikes.
Friel is 0 for 3. Fly to left, grounded to third, popped out to second.
You know, Dan, you know, when you get a well-pitched game by your starter, as a reliever, you come in and you really, you know, have the adrenaline pumping to make sure that you do not let that starter lose the game.
A lot of times, too, in these situations, if Wainwright can get the Cardinals through to the bottom of the 8th, tied up 1-1, it carries over offensively.
Absolutely, but tried to overthrow that breaking ball there, and that's when you hang one.
That one's going to find the seats. Another aspect of this type of situation, and we talked about it at the top of the game last night, is the man behind the plate in Molina. You have confidence in bouncing a breaking ball to him, and he is out here day in and day out working on that.
Very good point, because you have to be able to throw a ball in the dirt with that runner at third and know that he's going to block it. Didn't want the fastball in, calls for the slider. Should be away, doesn't have to be a strike. Try to get him to chase. Look, almost, you know, see, he's really incorporated more and more sliders this year, but then you kind of get that slurred. It's an in-between pitch.
Is this fun or what? Middle of August, little pennant race going on here.
Yeah, it was boring winning all those games and having such a big lead. Didn't want the slider, now he wants the fastball in.
2-2 pitch, and Friel hits it out to left. Should be caught, and it is. What a job by Wainwright. Weaver off the hook. Cardinals coming up in the bottom of the 8th, and we're still tied. It's 1-1. On FSN Midwest is brought to you by Busch. Smooth Busch beer and easy drinking Busch Light. By Chevrolet. See a Mid-America Chevy dealer today. Chevy, an American Revolution. And by Advance Auto, we're ready in advance. Great ball game today here from Busch Stadium. We're tied up 1-1 as we move to the bottom of the 8th. Hello. A gorgeous, gorgeous afternoon for baseball. Call to the bullpen is brought to you by your Mid-America Chevrolet dealers. 51st appearance for Ryan Franklin, 2-5 with an ERA of 4.33. Jeff Weaver off the hook after the great work from Adam Wainwright. Cardinals will have Molina in Wainwright's spot. Will be a pinch hitter with Timo Perez, it looks like. And then the top of the order. If you travel, best way to catch the Cardinals online whenever you are away from home, exclusively from MLB.tv. You can find out more at the Cardinals website at stlcardinals.com. 1-1 game. Cardinals have out hit the Reds 5-3. Molina looks at a breaking ball and a strike.
Now, Little League, you see a slow-footed runner dropping down a bunt, and you say, well, who's going to run for you?
Yadier gets underneath it. Hits it out to left, and the catch made by Dunn. Brings in Timo Perez. His last home run was against his former team, the White Sox. Isringhausen getting loose in the pen.
Good work by Wainwright, but wouldn't it be nice to get a run here in the bottom of the 8th and Izzy pitched the 9th and on to Chicago.
Of concern, I think, for the Cardinals has to be the inactivity of Isringhausen as of late.
Last time he pitched was last Wednesday in Cincinnati.
So over a week. And that's strike 2 on Timo Perez.
Right. A game like this, like I said, you know, you got the adrenaline pumping. You know, it's a great game. You got to feel your responsibility. And I'm sure Izzy will come out there and do the job. Let's just hope we have the lead if he pitches and when he pitches.
Eckstein on deck. Here comes an 0-2 pitch.
I think the bottom line for Tony, because in many ways you'd say, well, why don't you warm up a lefty in case the Cardinals don't score? Then, you know, he could start the inning and you wait for Izzy to come in for a save situation. But I think because it has been 8 days, you need to pitch him no matter what.
And the Reds have the heart of their order coming up: Hatteberg, Ken Griffey Jr., and Encarnacion.
Yeah, but you got your lefties. So that's why I was saying, you know, get Randy Flores back up, have him start the 9th if you don't take the lead.
Maybe Tony's thinking they got their big guns coming up. We're going to have our closer coming in. If you get him, you tip your cap. Two outs. In my own words, Scott Rowland, the Cardinals' third baseman, this Monday at 10. 30-minute show. Rowland discusses his 3 loves: family, baseball, and the Enos Furley Foundation. In my own words, Scott Rowland, Monday at 10 here on FSN Midwest, and you'll see a portion of that tomorrow.
Todd Coffey, the right-hander. Real Cormier, the left-hander, warming up behind Franklin, who's retired the first 2 batters. By the way, I saw Bruce Mano and asked about how John Rodriguez is doing at AAA.
Eckstein out to right center. Diving catch by Friel, and he does it again.
And he said he's hitting 400.
Ryan Friel again takes a hit away from a Cardinal batter. This time it's Eckstein. He's something else. 9th inning coming up. In a 1-1 game, we take a look at the game recap brought to you by Jack in the Box, Jeff Weaver. 7 1/3 here today. Some hard baseball, clean baseball played this afternoon. Well pitched. Good defense on both sides. Ken Griffey Jr. put the Reds on top by a run. Cardinals with Scott Rowland would match it with his solo home run. And you're caught up. It's 1-1, the top of the ninth. If the Reds win this game, Jerry and Aaron in Cincinnati in the Central Division of the National League would be just a half game back of St. Louis. Cardinals trying to get just a little breathing room. Here's Hatteberg, who has walked. He was the first base runner against Weaver in the 4th. First pitch by Izzy, taken for a ball. 8th blown save and 5th loss last time out for Isringhausen last Wednesday. Home run by David Ross. 2 balls and no strikes. 8 blown saves, the most in his career since the 9 in 2001 with Oakland. Still trying to pick up save number 30, which would be his 6th season with 30 or more saves.
Well, Izzy's not a stranger in that department. This is kind of an odd year where a lot of closers have a lot more blown saves than what they historically have had in the past.
And the count runs to 3 balls and a strike. These fans will grow restless with Isringhausen on the mound if he would walk a man.
That's one of the reasons why you don't like to have the closer not pitch for this long.
Backhanded by Pujols, leads Isringhausen, race to the bag, and they got him.
That was a very good play at both ends.
Such a key to get that first out. Good play by Pujols, and even a better throw to lead Isringhausen.
Well, that's one of the real power aspects or good aspects about Pujols is his ability to throw. This was not an easy hop he catches here. And look, it kind of had a lot of spin and came back on him, but his hands are so good. And then he had to throw it a lot quicker. But you see there, Jason is ready. A little bit the throw was behind him, and yet he still was able to make that play, avoid the collision with the base runner coming down the line.
Here's Ken Griffey Jr. Homered back in the 7th, a 12-pitch at bat against Jeff Weaver. One hopper, belly yard. 2 outs. Cardinals looking ahead to the bottom of this 9th inning. All right, Duncan, Pujols, and Rowland.
And Skipper Dan. If he retires Encarnacion in, say, a pitch or 2, maybe even 3,
do you bring him back?
And has that pitch count under 10, do you bring him back if the Cardinals don't score?
I'd say yes. Now, the problem with that is that Isringhausen, if you go back and look at some of those blown saves, a good portion of those have been Isringhausen going more than 1 inning. And I think that's the risk that you run.
Well, that's the byproduct of today's closers, where it's the 1 inning. You just go full bore, and then sometimes you have a hard time restarting the engine. But a lot of it have that pitch count under 10. You have to really at least consider it.
Should be fresh. Hasn't pitched in over a week.
And you would only have to pitch 3 more days before an off day.
Out to left center. Good outing here from Izzy. Yep. Hopefully he won't have to.
Hopefully he won't have to.
Duncan, Pujols, Rowland coming up. Bottom of the 9th. 1-1.
To stick around right after the game for the Busch Light Midwest Sports Report. Plenty of Cardinal reaction from inside the clubhouse. You'll hear Tony La Russa's live post-game comments and more of Jim Hayes' interview with Jim Edmonds. That's all coming up right after the game on MSR. Dan and Al, we'll see you then.
All right, Pat, thanks. Hopefully we see you very soon as the Cardinals have some big bats coming up. Starts with Duncan. Chris Duncan on the first pitch with a base hit, and the winning run is on, and it brings in Pujols.
How about 3 consecutive 3-hit games for Chris Duncan? 9 hits in the series. 2-game swing.
Gives the idea the importance of this game.
It's either a half-game lead for the Cardinals where the Reds win, or a Cardinal victory. It's 2.5 games ahead. I was wrong in the 6th inning, thinking Albert would catch a mistake. I would much rather have it here in the 9th, and his 20th game-winning RBI.
So important to get somebody on in front of him, and Duncan has been doing that more times than not as of late. Pujols, though, has not capitalized. Didn't do so last night. Duncan, another 3-hit day. Albert is 0 for 3. Fans on their feet. The 1-0 pitch. Outside, 2 balls and no strikes.
I saw the 7 walk-off home runs. That would be doing it in the most dramatic fashion, but Tony and the players would just say any way to drive in a run. Oh.
3-0.
It was a ball, but I mean, instead of being outside, it was back over the inner part of the plate, inner half, but low.
3-0 pitch. Ball 4 to Albert. So here we go. Runners at first and second. Winning run in scoring position for Scott Rowland, who is homered. Bottom of the 9th. And Rowland could be the hero.
What's he done against Brian Franklin? That's not bad.
Now, you've talked about this before. This is the heart of the order for the Cardinals and their best chance to win. If they would try to bunt in this spot, which you wouldn't anticipate, you get first base open, they can load him up, then a chance for Belliard.
I think you're really doing the Reds a favor right now, just because of the way the configuration of the lineup, because they would walk the bases loaded, and once you get past Belliard, you know, you really, if you don't do it in this inning, this part of the batting order, you're going to have to wait an inning or 2 before they come back up.
Pujols a runner at first. Winning run. Duncan out at second. And for a big man, you think about the speed of Chris Duncan. Not too shabby at all out there at second base. And Rowland hits it out of play. The outfield. Let's give you the arms. You've got Dunn out left. Not a great arm, fairly accurate. Ken Griffey Jr. playing deep in center, and Ryan Friel they feel is arguably their best defensive outfielder. He's in right.
But Oquendo is going to be very aggressive.
Chris Duncan, by the way, in this series, 9 for 13. Tuesday night, 3 for 5, a couple of RBIs. Last night he was 3 for 4 with a double and a walk, and today 3 for 4. And Duncan, with a base hit, could score the winning run. The 2-1 pitch.
Ooh. You know, you look at the numbers that the 4 for 7 against Franklin. He really isn't that type of pitcher that has a pitch that he can really throw by Scott. He can get him out if he goes, expands his zone.
Base hit, right field. Duncan being waved in. The throw by Friel. On line, no. Cardinals win it. Scott Rowland, the game winner. 2-1. else would be our play of the game. Brought to you by Budweiser. Scott Rowland with a pair of RBIs today. His home run tied it in the 7th. This base hit wins it in the bottom of the 9th.
Like a splitter out there to right field, several hops. Best thrower coming up there. Give Oquendo some credit. There's a lot of people would have left the bases loaded, not send that runner home from second base with nobody out. But here they test the outfield, and the throw's offline, and the Cardinals win.
We head to a break. We'll wrap it up in a moment. Scott Rowland will be with Jim Hayes momentarily. Big win for the Cardinals, 2-1. Rowland also had a walk-off base hit against the Dodgers on July 15th. Big one here on August 17th as the Cardinals win it 2-1. 2-7-0 for St. Louis, 1-3-0 for the Reds, and Al, the lead is back to 2.5 games.
Well, that's what you'd like to have a sweep. They didn't get that, but they came back. The only thing sweeter would have been a win for Weaver, but this was a big team win.
Cardinal Baseball, produced by Bud Productions, an exclusive presentation of FSN Midwest. Next Cardinals broadcast tomorrow afternoon from Wrigley Field in Chicago will come your way at 12:30. Final score today from Busch Stadium, 2-1. Scott Rowland is coming up on the Midwest Sports Report as our star of the game. Stay with us.
Once again, everybody, and welcome back inside Busch Stadium for this Cardinals postgame edition of the Busch Light Midwest Sports Report. You will hear Tony La Russa's live postgame comments coming up. We'll go inside the victorious Cardinals clubhouse as well. And you're going to hear from Joe Strauss, the Post-Dispatch beat writer. Will be taking your phone calls at 1-888-RING-FOX. Right now, though, it's right back down to the field. Jim Hayes is standing by with our star of the game, the hero, really, Scott Rowland. They're at the scene, brought to you by Ace Mortgage. Jimmy, take it away.
The game-winning base hit first to get a win in the last game of the series with these guys and get out of here with a 2.5-game lead going to Chicago. It's got to feel pretty good.
Yeah, it does. We were dragging a little bit coming back from Pittsburgh. Those guys pitched well. In Pittsburgh, we didn't play poorly. We came back here, and Carp had a great outing. We didn't do so well yesterday. Came back and got a series win today and head to Chicago.
Take us through that last at-bat. What pitch were you looking for, and what did you get?
I was trying to figure out if I was going to bunt on the first pitch. And even though he didn't put the bunt sign on, I didn't know didn't think it'd be a bad play. And I thought, well, what the hell? I'll give it a shot. So, I went up there to hit then, and I think it was a changeup the last pitch. I'm not sure what it was. It was safe. It worked. It hit, and it doesn't matter.
How about the job by Weaver today?
He did an unbelievable job. The guys, we can get good pitching, we get good offense, and it didn't look good, all the way through with 2 hits, 3 hits, 1 run. But as long as we come up on top, that's what we're looking for.
Need a hug?
I just got one, buddy.
All right, thanks, Scott. Upstairs to you guys.
Usually don't see an interview ended that way, but thanks a lot, Jim. We appreciate it. Thanks for Scott Rowland giving us some time. And the Cardinals pick up a big win, 2-1 in the bottom of the 9th, and now the lead is 2.5 games headed to Chicago, a place that has been very tough for the Cardinals this year. There's been a lot of storylines when you look at the Cardinals and the Reds this season, but in particular in this series, how about the job of Chris Duncan? 9 of 13 times he reaches base.
Well, he was just outstanding. 3 consecutive 3-hit games. So Chris was out there. He's really solidified batting in that second spot, being in the lineup every single day. And, he just drives the ball. He's fun to watch. And, you make a mistake, he can get the extra base hits off you, and he can lose one for you. So it's just, he deserves to be out there.
Base hit to right his first time up, and then Duncan would add another one up the middle, and he would start this 9th inning off with a base hit as well. So Chris Duncan, a very good series. Something that probably gets overlooked with the hit by Scott Rowland here in the 9th is the job by Jeff Weaver. Given a little bit of stability to the starting rotation, it hasn't been easy to find that, but Weaver was really good today.
Outstanding, and he's shown Tony and Dunk that he deserves to have that opportunity, and rewarded them and the ball club with an outstanding effort. The only thing that could have been better today is if he would have gotten the win, and Izzy would have gotten the save. But Izzy gets the win. Weaver knows that his teammates, he just went way up on the ladder. And right now, I think if you judged and said,
got into postseason play, Carpenter starts game number 1. Maybe Weaver's number 2.
Good to see Isringhausen with a scoreless frame, and also overlooked was Wainwright coming in with a runner at third and less than 2 outs, and he gets out of the jam.
Yeah, you got the big strikeout with a runner at third base to get the second out, and, he gets out of that inning with the fly ball. But, one other thing, we kind of somewhat kid, we kind of do this, but so many times the Cardinals will win series. When they're, 1-1, the final game, they have to go out there and win that one to win the series. This is the kind of competition that they're going to need. They're going to play these last 40-plus ball games. It's not going to be a cakewalk. It's not going to be a runaway. But this team will find a way to win these close games and win the series.
Pre-game show tomorrow at 12:30 from Wrigley Field. We send it back over.